If you're in your 20s and you're trying to optimize your finances, you're pretty much going to hear the same advice everywhere you go. Max out your 401k every single year with no exceptions. And pretty much every influencer in personal finance has this at the top of their list when it comes to goals you need to strive for when you're on your personal finance journey. And maxing out your 401k is even step number 6 on the Money Guy's financial order of operations, which is pretty much regarded as the go-to blueprint for becoming the most financially responsible version of yourself. And don't get me wrong, I do think the 401k is genuinely one of the best investment tools that's available to your average Joe. I mean, even guys that have no idea what the stock market is or what investing is are still able to become millionaires without even realizing it, simply because they selected a few options when they were signing up for their employer benefits. But I think this generic advice that everyone needs to focus on trying to max it out could hurt people that don't really know where that fits in their long-term goals. So in this video, I wanted to break down some of the math behind maxing out your 401k and show why it might not be the best idea for everyone. So for those of you that aren't sure what a 401k is, pretty much it's just a retirement account that's available through your employer, and they'll usually give you a few different options for investments. It'll be something like an S&P 500 index fund. They may have some international stock index funds. And I think the most popular investment in there is a target date fund, which is pretty much a structured allocation depending on when you plan to retire. So it'll naturally be a little bit more aggressive towards the beginning of your career, and then as you get closer to retirement, it auto rebalances towards safer investments. And essentially all you do is select a percentage of your paycheck, and that's going to get pulled out automatically every single pay period and go straight into the 401k. And one of the biggest hacks for the 401k is the tax deferment on it. So pretty much with a 401k, at least the traditional kind, all the money that gets invested before it's taxed. So you're pretty much getting a larger percentage of that money than you typically would. Now you still have to pay taxes on this money when you pull it out, but at least you only have to pay taxes one time. A lot of employers now also offer a Roth version of the 401k, which essentially means that you'll be paying those taxes up front, and then that money can grow for decades without ever needing to be taxed again. And personally, I think this is an awesome option because we really have no idea what the tax situation is going to be like when we're 60 years old. So in my personal opinion, I think it's much better to get those taxes out of the way right now, and then you can enjoy some tax-free gains when you enter retirement. And the second thing that makes the 401k so special is the employer match. And this is essentially because when you get a match on your 401k, it pretty much just means you're getting an extra free raise for investing in your 401k. So typically a company might say match up to 4%. So if you invest up to 4% in your 401k, you're getting a free 4% raise just for doing that. So I don't think this is really debatable. If you have a company match available at your place of employment, you definitely need to be taking advantage of that. But once you have that 401k match, I think it becomes pretty nuanced depending on your long-term goals, whether or not you should invest more in the 401k or start looking for other options. So to kind of show you guys what I'm getting at here, I want you to picture a couple of different scenarios. Now in this first scenario, you're going to be following that standard advice to max out your 401k every single year from, let's say, the age of 25 till the age of 65. And with the current contribution limits in 2026, you'd be investing around $2,000 a month to your 401k. Now, if we assume that the market continues to return, say, 8% every single year, you'd be looking at around $7 million by the time you retired. Now, let's say for our second scenario, you still invest in your 401k, but this time you're only doing $500 a month. Even though it's only a quarter of what you were investing in the first scenario, you would still end up with almost $2 million by the time you hit the age of 65. Now, I think at face value, pretty much all of us would say that we would prefer the first version where you retire with $7 million. Because obviously that's generational wealth you can pass down to your kids. I mean, that's enough money to have any hobby you want in retirement. You could even go live on one of those like river cruise ships if you really wanted to. And really, this is just fuck you money for when you're retired. But I think the part no one really asks or talks about is, what do you have to give up to actually reach that point? And I want you guys to be honest with yourself about what your goals and lifestyle and retirement actually looks like. And I'm sure there's probably some of you guys that do want a yacht, or maybe you want to travel like to every single country and live around the world when you retire. But I think most guys just want something simple when they retire. Something like some occasional travel, having a nice place to live, and some hobbies you enjoy while still being able to enjoy eating out every now and again. And I think honestly, for most people, somewhere between $60,000 to $80,000 a year is plenty to have this kind of lifestyle. And using the 4% withdrawal rule, which pretty much just means that you're withdrawing 4% of your portfolio every single year to live off of, you would only need around $2 to $2.5 million to have this sort of retirement. So let's assume your goal for retirement is to have a portfolio worth $2.5 million. What would you need to get to that point? Well, assuming you start at the age of 25 and invest in the S&P 500, and assuming that that continues to rise at about 8% every single year, you would only need to invest $750 a month to hit that $2.5 million portfolio by the age of 65. So if you're maxing out your 401k, that means you're going to be retiring with almost 3 times as much money as you actually need to have a comfortable retirement. And I think that that extra money invested does have an opportunity cost, because maxing out your 401k in 2026 means that you're locking away almost $25,000 a year that you can't touch without penalties until you're almost 60 years old. But what if you went against all of the traditional financial advice and kept that $1,250 to yourself and just invested the $750 every month to your 401k? That's an extra $1,250 per month that could be saved for a down payment on a rental property that you could use to generate passive income. It's an extra $1,250 that you could put towards starting a business that could allow you to eventually quit your job entirely. It's money that could go towards degrees or certifications or different courses that could allow you to potentially double your income and may even accelerate you towards an early retirement. And dare I say, you could even use some of this money to enjoy your life a little bit more while you're young and healthy and have the opportunity to explore and travel. And this is something you'll never hear from the traditional finance industry, because it's so easy to tell people that they just need to focus on beefing up their 401ks without ever really looking into everyone's individual situation and what everyone wants out of life. And something a lot of people don't consider when it comes to their 401k is whether or not they have any aspirations to retire early. Because if you're trying to escape the rat race by 40, 45, or even 50 years old, maxing out your 401k every single year isn't just something that's suboptimal, it's actually working against your goals. Because if you're trying to retire before the age of 60, it means you need liquid money that's available to access before then. So if you're considering early retirement, I have a 2-phase strategy that I think makes sense for this situation. And for the first phase of this strategy, when you're early in your career, I think that it's super important to not only hit your employer match, but also to bump up your contribution to say 10 or 15% total for every single year. And after that, if you have any money left over, you can start investing that into a taxable brokerage. And this is super important because it allows you to start beefing up that retirement money while also getting the ball rolling on the money you access before the traditional retirement age. And the goal here is to keep investing until you hit what's called Coast-Fi. And essentially all Coast-Fi is a point where you have enough money invested that if you stopped investing right then, you would still have enough to retire when you hit that age of 60. So let's say you have a retirement number of $2.5 million. If you hit $230,000 invested by the age of 30, that theoretically would grow to hit $2.5 million by the age of 60 without you having to invest anything else again. And once you have that traditional retirement money locked away and guaranteed for that future growth, I think this is where you enter phase 2, where you start to supercharge your taxable brokerage. And what I would do in this scenario is drop your contribution down to your employer match and then take everything else you have available to invest and put that in your taxable brokerage. This will allow you to still get that free money from your employer while also boosting the money that you'll have to allow you to retire before the traditional retirement age. And from that point on, every single dollar you invest is bringing you closer to an early retirement and escaping the 9 to 5. So at the end of the day, maxing out your 401k is not a universal goal that works for everybody. It's simply one of many financial tools that can help you to become financially free, but only if you use it in the right way. And I think the goal for most people was never to die with the most amount of money in an account that they couldn't touch for most of their lives. The goal is to build a life that you don't need to escape from. So before you go for a max contribution to your 401k because it's quote unquote the most optimal thing to do for your personal finances, I want you to run your own retirement numbers. Figure out what kind of retirement you actually want and how much that's going to cost you once you hit that age of 60. And from there, you can back calculate how much you need to be contributing to your 401k in order to actually achieve the goals that are right for you. Because there's no reason to lock away all of this excess money that you won't be able to access during the years where you can actually do something with it. And if you want to start investing in a taxable brokerage, but you're not sure about the best way to go about it, check out my most recent video where I break down 3 different portfolios for every type of investing personality. And if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.